During the winter of 2020, like most families, we were all in quarantine. I was staying over at my aunt's house, and we decided that we were going to rip out the second floor, this section of the house, have the first floor look up into the second floor ceiling. It was going to be a fun idea for us to embark on. First order of business was to clean up everything that was in this room, which includes the carpet, the massage chair, the Peloton machine, and anything that was left over. In retrospect, moving the bookshelf might have been easier if I had taken out everything. At this stage of the remodel, we've already ripped out the carpet. This took about half a night. We started ripping out the wall panels to see where all the plugs were so we could start relocating them, taping up the ceilings. The next morning we were able to see how the room looked with actual natural light flowing in. This part was actually pretty satisfying, being able to paint the ceiling and see how the white paint would look on it. Now, the downfall here was that there were a lot of imperfections in the wood after the first coat. We decided while we were still early in the painting game that we would start putting putty on the cracks, filling in those edges and anything that was an imperfection. Sanding, like always, took so long, even with a palm sander. With any new project, you get learnings along the way. In retrospect, I wouldn't have used a palm sander. I would have just used my finger and pushed them into the crevices, which would have been good enough. This was one of the most satisfying parts of the build, where you get to see all the imperfections covered up, all the white paint in, and layered on. Another retrospective thought is that I wish I'd taken more videos. While working with my aunt, we had two contrasting ideas, which was using a wooded themed wallpaper versus using all white for the walls. I went ahead and painted everything white, and it really brightened up the area. Having used a spray gun for the first time, we realized how messy things had gotten, how much paint is wasted on the ground and then just flows through the air. Here's my cousin pitching in to wallpaper some of the walls. Wiring's always fun. Even more fun when you mess up and get a light show. Approaching another milestone, we were able to cover all the wires for the lighting, then see everything installed and turned on. Surprisingly, the banister came out a lot easier than I expected. Here's a sample size area where I tested ripping out the floorboards. After cutting a guideline from the top of the floorboard, I went downstairs and started knocking out some boards. Ripping out the boards was a great feeling and almost a little surreal when looking down at the first floor. After ripping them all up, we started losing space and had to figure out what to do with all the boards. I started sticking them in the corners and anywhere on the walls that were open. The child in me had to sit down and take a shot here. Since there are kids running around the house at times, I put up a mock railing. Throughout this build, we reused the floorboards so many times, cutting them down, trimming them up, reusing them. I call it reclaiming. We saved some of the planks and decided to create a nook. Next step was opening up the staircase wall and giving it more of an open feeling, which also included relocating an electrical switch. A little grainy in quality, but I was able to capture what it looked like from the first floor. After attempting a couple different designs, I landed on one that I liked. Patterns created on a horizontal surface just didn't work on a diagonal surface, so I had to improvise. Again, using only floorboards. I decided to create a design for the bottom post of the stairway. I was even able to trim down some strips of the floorboard where the tongue and groove meet to make trim. Throughout this journey, we had only painted half of the second floor, the part that was open to the first floor. We now decided that the other half needed to be painted white. Using learnings from the first half, I decided to put putty on my finger and smear it into the imperfections. Quick break and a quick top rock in the bunny suit. When you're painting, there's nothing more satisfying than taking down the painter's tape. And at this moment, I almost fell down to the first floor. OSHA would not be too happy. From this 2 to 3 month journey, I think we've done so much and everything is looking so good. Now we just have to finish the last 20% and then we'll be able to move on to the next project. Thanks for watching.